What up, guys? Welcome back to the AI game. This is the game with 43 civs, every civ in the game apart from Germany, playing in their actual start locations on the world map. I was playing through it on stream, and I've let it run a few turns in the background. We're coming back to it on turn 312. Technically, we're actually playing as Persia, who is quite irrelevant at this point. Um, Yes, this is who we technically started the game as before we put the autoplay on. So, what has gone down? Well, Japan is up to 68 cities. Whatever, which is a crazy amount, to be honest. 14 autocracy policies. Incans have finished the tech tree with 12 order policies. Got quite a few civs following freedom, Iroquois being the most powerful of them. And one thing that we need to check is World Congress because a few things have happened here. So, they actually managed to get World Ideology of Freedom passed. There's 13 civs following freedom. Iroquois also have 9 votes from the fealty policy and the amount of cities following their religion. 10 from the freedom policy, one of the tier 3 ideology policies, gives vote for every city-state that started the game. 4 from wonders, they actually built the United Nations wonder, so World Ideology and United Nations got passed. Delegates needed for hegemony is 48, and they actually have 50 votes. So they can win. I would have thought that the number of votes needed would scale up more. I don't know if it's maybe related to the number of city-states, civilizations, and city-states in the game. I mean, I find that strange because I thought it was around 14 normally, and obviously we have a lot more than we normally would in this game. So that seems odd, but like I said, they have the votes. With only 2 city-state allies, they could have one and they would still have enough. And freedom, you actually get votes for you get 1 vote for every 2 declaration of friendship. So I guess they must have 6 or 7. Quite a few civs have influential tourism over us, apparently. Sure. Glad I didn't have to play this one out. Imagine how annoying it would have been with all of these notifications every turn. Yeah, crazy that they've ended up with that many votes, I guess. I mean, there should be quite a few civs with... So there's obviously every civ following freedom gets the extra 13 votes, and then any civs with fealty have ended up with quite a few bonus votes. So Astia with 7. I guess Iroquois are the only civ with freedom and fealty, and that have managed to get to the freedom finisher. But I guess Morocco has got to the finisher, and they've also got the statecraft policy that gives a few extra votes. Kind of weird that in this game, fealty gives you more votes than statecraft. They got 7 from wonders as well. I guess they have Palace of Westminster, and maybe they got the silver award on the United Nations or something like that.
You have been defeated. Your civilization has been overwhelmed by its many foes. But your people do not despair, for they know that one day you shall return and lead them forward to victory.
But yeah, Incans did actually win Space Victory. So I think the host vote was scheduled for in 10 turns. But Incans got there on turn 312, which is pretty decent, I have to say. That's a fairly quick space victory. I guess especially considering that recently the information era tech costs got increased. But yeah, they did obviously have a very good start. This was the Civ that we predicted was going to win, and they did, so it's not a surprise. But yeah, we can try and have a little look at the replay. Should be interesting. I guess demographics first. -8 crop yield, very cool. 40,000 production per turn from Japan is crazy. I feel like I've never seen anything like these numbers, to be honest. Maybe I've seen more pop than that. There are some games where we've had 2K Food Corp and grown some of the cities massively. Maybe it went more than that, though. Obviously, they have 70 cities. I don't think I've ever had that many. Soldiers, they probably have even more than we had in the France game. And they'll be higher tech as well, so yeah. 11,000 gold per turn, I guess. Iroquois actually had more food somehow. But yeah, 40,000 production per turn is ridiculous. I don't know how they didn't win the United Nations. They must have been building other stuff. Okay, so this is the map. You can see Europe is very, very crowded. A couple of civs up in North America. Shoshone gonna spawn there. Honolulu in there. Incans are gonna spawn down here. Zulus, Songhai, I believe, are around here. And yeah, Ethiopia, Egypt, Arabia. Like I said, all the European civs. Siemens Byzantium, and then Asia. A little bit more space in Asia, Siam and Indonesia, China, Korea, Japan, India and Mongolia are going to spawn up there. And then we have kind of Russia and the Huns in Eastern Europe. They also have some space. Okay, so first thing that happened is all the European civs settled, and none of them really had space to get second cities other than these guys over here. Iroquois pretty quickly went onto America, took out Washington and New York that were settled there. Aztecs tried to come up and settle North America, but they ended up at war with both Shoshone and Iroquois, lost these cities up here. Incans also took out Brazil very early. They had the best start, built some wonders, took out Brazil, had like no enemies anywhere near them. Japan also took out Korea. I think China was involved in that war too, and then they got stuck between trying to attack Mongolia and China. Japan definitely could have snowballed, but didn't really because they just couldn't conquer either of them for a long time. Eventually Ethiopia got kind of killed by Zulus and Songhai, and then Japan just went crazy once he got information. Once he got ironclads, I think, really started like smashing through some of the coastal cities, and then tanks started conquering the land cities as well. Yeah, never seen an AI conquer that much, to be honest. Let's try and see some things we didn't see that time. So yeah, I think Spain got knocked out first from Europe by Portugal. They actually did settle a city down here, so Spain did survive, but yeah, lost Madrid. Portugal also ended up taking Paris, I believe. Denmark died. I think Venice died. Well, actually, I think Sweden eventually conquered Austria, who was doing reasonably. And maybe Venice as well. It's a bit hard to tell in there. Yeah, I think Songhai and Zulus kind of got stuck on each other here. India was doing pretty good until Japan just... The Japanese army was pretty scary towards the end. They were actually about to take Persia as well. Okay. Let's look at the graphs. I mean, I tried to look at the graphs and it kept crashing, so that's not going to happen. But point is, the Incans had a lot of freaking science. Japan had a lot of culture, especially towards the end. The only one that sort of could have kept up was the Shoshone. They have a great start where they get 2 natural wonders within their starting borders. Based on the location of Mozonkani, they get Old Faithful and Grand Mesa, and then Barrington Crater pretty close by too. But yeah, Incans have a perfect start for them where they get to start in mountains, pretty isolated, so they can just do whatever they want. They went for some good policies, progress, started building some wonders, then went artistry, then rationalism, then order. Pretty perfect choice for going for space victory. The only thing they didn't really do was get a religion. I mean, there's no particular religion that's amazing, but they definitely could have had some bonuses from that if they had focused for it. I think they took God of Renewal as their pantheon, which could have worked since they're right next to the Amazon, but they didn't really expand that way. Obviously, they're going to expand into mountains, so probably would have made more sense to just take Goddess of Beauty and get a quick religion like that. I mean, when you're on a map this big, you can convert so many people to your religion if you get out with your religion first. Like Ethiopia did that with Eastern Orthodoxy, and yeah, like I think there's, you know, most of the world is now following their religion, most of like Europe, Asia, and Africa at least, because once you get ahead, and then there's so many cities giving pressure to other cities, basically all the other religions like barely exist anymore. And if they'd kept spreading Eastern Orthodoxy more, could have literally been everywhere across the Europe, Asia, and Africa, maybe Australia as well, I guess. America's quite separate since there's oceans in between. There were 2 religions on here, Protestantism and Catholicism. Both of them ended up pretty big, I think 40 or 50 cities following the religion. So you could definitely get some big bonuses from some of those enhancer beliefs that give bonuses for every foreign city following a religion. And the one Ethiopia had actually the founder belief. This is technically the only founder belief that keep scaling the more cities you convert, since every new city you convert you get this bonus again, 600 science and production. The other founder beliefs will like cap out at a certain point of how many cities you converted. I guess there's the one that gives food for conversions, but yeah, that food not so useful, and you have to use a missionary every time for that. It's not just how many cities following your religion. But yeah, there's at least 2 enhancer beliefs that give yields for people following your religion, and it is Sacred Calendar, 3 Golden Age points and gold for every foreign city following this religion, and then Universalism, +1 gold and faith in Holy City for every 10 followers of this religion and foreign cities. So there was 80 cities following 2,300 followers. Yeah, 47 Protestant, 35, 200 followers. That's Taoist, and then Catholicism. Got as well, a few religions got wiped out. Hinduism was okay in India for a bit. Islam never really got anywhere. Arabia started that. Would have been a good religion for them. They took the good tradition policies. Zoroastrian, I don't even remember what was in that. And then Taoism wasn't anything special. Shinto was actually a very good religion. Japan, so it's one of the reasons I thought they could do something. They pretty much chose an almost perfect religion. They went for hero worship, which is so great with Japan's unique ability of every time you get a general or admiral, you get 50% of a writer, artist, and musician. You get quite a lot of these points when you conquer cities, so yeah, if they'd taken, probably Teokal is still the best if you're going pure military. Don't think Kurowaras give that much yield, so I probably would have gone for Moss instead. But I like the faith conversion as well, since you get a lot of faith for conquering cities also. Enhancer belief. They could have chosen zealotry, I guess. Probably would have been a bit more useful. Maybe even symbolism. But yeah, Crusader Spirit as well, so they're getting culture and gold every time they conquer cities. And they get the combat bonus to help them conquer more. They really did go crazy. They got, they did get stuck around here. They couldn't get into Beijing, or there was Mongolian city here. They could have generaled a bit better, and they also just don't use their units particularly well. Like putting, they should have had the samurais or upgraded infantry on the front line, and then the siege weapons behind. They're often trying to attack with just normal like ranged weapons, like musketmen or something on the cities is not doing enough damage. You have to use cannons really to take down the city until you get to land ships or boats, particularly ironclads onwards. Pretty good at taking down cities. India got nuked a bit. I think a few nukes got flown around in America as well. The Mayans got absolutely wiped by Iroquois and the Incans, and I think there was a few nukes involved in that war as well. Iroquois was doing pretty good. They actually have a nice start as well. Quite a lot of forest up here in Canada for them to get the longhouse bonus from. Probably they could have had a nice World of Stars and Sky game if they went for that Pantheon. I mean, the Holy City, I suppose, the capital city is not really in the tundra, it's more in the forest. Maybe Renewal is the one. Pocatello could have gone for God of Beauty since he's got 3 natural wonders and actually does have reasonable amount, like some mountains around up here as well. Brazil also has the possibility of having a very good game. They're quite close to a lot of jungle. I mean, some of it's been deforested at this point, but they're close to a lot of jungle. Not actually, they don't actually start in it, unfortunately, but there's some forests about for them to build the Brazilwood camps, and then they're close to the Amazon, so they can have a lot of Brazilwood camps. And another thing, when they're on a map this big, there's so many tiles to explore. I believe the whole map is, I think it's maybe, I believe it's 190 wide. Maybe 100 tall or something like that. So you're looking at 20,000 tiles on the map. I believe Bandeirantes get 3 or 4 yields per tile, so 60 or 80,000 yields you get from Bandeirantes. Given that you get them at Compass, it's not saying how much these techs cost, but even the late industrial era techs are 5k, so all of these will be 12k. I think you can basically get the entire Renaissance era and at least halfway through industrial era based off of just the yields from exploring, and you're getting a bunch of policies as well. Just got to survive the Incans since you're going to be isolated on a continent with them. I'm kind of saying this point from the point of view of if you're playing. Japan can be very powerful, I think. Yeah, with this religion that they had, if they had not got stuck conquering, if they'd been able to conquer earlier and get the tourism going earlier, the main issue they had was because they conquered so many cities and they kept them all, they ended up with this massive penalty for tourism. Every is minus 100 with like every civ basically from the empire size because they have so many more cities than everyone else. So they couldn't get anywhere near the tourism victory. I think tourism victory is always going to be hard on a map this big because you have to get it with every single civ. So if there's one civ that's doing well, that's like across the map, I mean, there can be multiple civs with really high culture output. So then in order to match that, you need a lot of cities yourself, but then you're reducing your ability to put tourism on the civs that don't have as many cities. So tourism does feel like a tough victory, but the amount of yields you can get from conquering since there's so many cities is crazy. So that survival strategy. So yeah, I think Japan is reasonable, though they don't have a great start location. They just have a very good unique ability. So you need to have a good start and then get the unique ability rolling. Incans probably do have the best start. Pocatello has a good start, but it's just not a great civ. Like, there's not an obvious win condition when you're playing the Shoshone. Brazil has a more obvious win condition of trying to go for the tourism, but like I said, the tourism is difficult, but you're going to have a lot of free tech science from the Bandeirantes. Maybe it's an idea to just use the culture and other stuff you get from Brazil to transition into a space victory. But the thing I wasn't expecting was how easy it would be to win global hegemony. Yeah, in 10 turns the Iroquois would have won, kind of out of nowhere. They haven't, it's not like they've had to befriend that many city-states to get here. Yes, they are the host. They did build United Nations, but you get so many votes from following the world ideology because a third of civs are going to be following each ideology. So especially if, I think freedom is the most chosen one. And then you can get so many votes from the fealty policy as well. If it was possible to get a world religion through and you were the founder of that religion, you'd have loads more votes. So honestly, that might be one of the better ways to win on this map, would be get a religion, spread it as quickly as you can, try and take over the majority religion of the world, get world religion, world ideology, don't even worry about being first. Actually, probably it's better to not be like doing the best so that you've actually got friends and people aren't going to vote against you too hard in Congress, because it's going to be hard if everyone hates you. Like, no matter how many votes you have, there's going to be way more votes just generally floating around. But yeah, like, there's a lot of ways to get enough votes, and 48 is really not that many, given how many you can get from world ideology, world religion, and stuff like that. I don't know which civ is best to do that victory type. I guess Iroquois do have some Diplo bonus with these guys, though at least the way I did it, there wasn't that many city-states on this map because there was already so many civs. And most of the other good diplomatic civs like Portugal, Austria, you wouldn't really want to play them because they're just so crammed in. I mean, Siam has a reasonable game, I suppose. Nothing special, but at least they shouldn't be too disturbed, at least until Japan comes with a massive fleet late game. So yeah, Diplo victory might well be the quickest way to win. I feel like these guys, they could have got it done earlier because the Incan, whenever somebody researches the text that you need for the Diplo victory, I believe it's atomic theory and nuclear fission that you need for world ideology and then United Nations. The Incans had tech that a while ago. I don't know why they didn't propose it straight away because they must have known they were pretty good on votes. I wonder if Iroquois were even able to propose before. I think they weren't hosts until recently, and maybe they didn't have the policy that gives the 10 extra, and they didn't obviously have world ideology until it got passed, so they might not have known that they were that close to winning. I think as soon as world ideology got passed, United Nations got passed in the next one. They're kind of lucky that they were able to actually win United Nations because you get some extra votes that way. But yeah, I suppose you could play a Songhai and do the conquering thing too, but you wouldn't get as much of a bonus out of it as it would with Japan. You would literally have to conquer the whole world in order to stop everybody else winning. That would take a long time. Okay, I think we've talked enough about this game. So yeah, if you're thinking of doing a realistic, in quotes, game of Civ with all the civs in their placement, play as the Incans. There's a few other choices of civs that would be good, particularly for humans, but Incans is the easiest win. Going for science. Diplo could be an option too, but my advice would be don't do this. Don't play this game like this. It was so unstable. There's, it works, but Civ's not designed to handle a map this big with so many different Civs. It took ages. It crashed a bunch of times. I think part of that was from the autoplay, but part of that is just because there's just too much. I'm sure there's lots of memory overflows going on and stuff like that. Turn times for ages. Japan's turns were taking so long because it must have about 200 units or something, conquering multiple cities. I wouldn't advise playing this game, but the map is there. I think I've linked it and stuff if you want to try, or do some other version of this game with less civs perhaps, or on the smaller versions of the map. I hope you guys enjoyed though. If anyone came to the stream, they had a nice time. If we do another AI game, it will not be on this map. We'll do like a more normal game, 6 or 8 civs or something, where we can watch them all easier and see who wins. But yeah, probably no more civ videos for a couple of weeks. I may do some other videos of some other games. Potentially in the meantime. Have a nice week though, guys. I am out.